Hi, everybody. Welcome to this Aarohana session on building tourism enterprises. We are joined by Taran Kumar Bansal, owner of Aarohana Hospitality, and Anand Rajaratnam, who is the founder of Heritage Inspired. Before we, get into specific questions and things, we'll start with introductions. So let's start with you, Anand. Anand, can you just introduce yourself and tell us more about what you do and you know?
Sure. So, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. I thank NICE for giving this opportunity. Myself, Anand Rajaratnam. So, I'm an IT engineer, and I used to live in the US and come from Tiruchirappalli. That's my hometown, south of Chennai, this town. And I've been looking. My passion lies around the South Indian history. I've been always so passionate right from my childhood, and that passion basically brought Heritage Inspired. And I'm specialized in history, South Indian history, and then we do a lot of stuff on heritage tours.
Sure. Taran, can you go next?
Hi, I'm Tarun Bansal. I'm not the owner, my family is the owner. I'm the executor of an HUF, which manages hotels and travel enterprises. That's what you say in an HUF.
Right.
So, I have been in this business of hotels, travel services, and food, myself for the past 30 years. And actually, since I was a child, because this is where I used to come after school was over. So, Rajasthan doesn't have that ancient history that South India can proudly say that they possess. But we have a very interesting history of medieval times of kings and wars and so on and so forth. And this medieval heritage history of a lot of intermixing, colonial, Western, Rajputs, Mughals, is very interesting. And it has a lot of appeal to the foreign guests as well. And in my own small manner, I try to contribute to keep the history relevant and also profit from it, because that's what we do.
Right. That's what a business is run for after all. So, Anand, let's start with you. So you were, you were working in the US for close to a decade, and then you came back in 2013. But what kindled your initial interest in history? What attracted you towards history?
Yeah, so I think it was a childhood interest. So, like what Tarun also mentioned, there's so much of history. We don't read our local history in schools, unfortunately. And out there, even the Cholas, the Chalukyas, the Shatavahana, the Cheras, the Pandyas, the Mughals. There's so much of stuff there. So we basically go to temples, and then people worship, and then they say, "Oh wow, such a big temple." But unfortunately, laymen like me did not know what was the core history of the temple. What is the temple architecture? I don't want to go and do a research, but I want to know basic information on what is the aesthetics of the temple. Because every temple, we are getting spiritually, but there is so much of nuances out there. Even the icons, the architecture, the inscriptions, it's for a lifetime. You can just go and explore, and everybody has that DNA. So I thought, we need to have a trigger for us to start going and understanding the world about and celebrate our history. So that was like kindling me all the time. Hey, I'm not able to go and start. Where do I go and start? And what are the different stuff which I have to go and follow? Where are the experts? All that. I have some guides, but I get some basic information. But how do I really go and get that information? What's the trigger for me to start the exploration in 2013, 2014?
Right. No, that definitely sounds interesting, Anand. So, Tarun, like like you said, that your family has been running this hospitality business. But apart from that, what first attracted you to this sector, this particular area?
Well, I love being in a hotel, so that's and
Right,
love talking to guests. And I think this is the best business that I could ever have, been fortunate enough to be a part of, despite the long hours. I would just pick on the thread that Anand was talking about history. Now, there was one thing that much later in my career, about 10 years or 12 years back, I started. When we talk about history, it is essentially the history of kings and royalty. And I got thinking that what about the common man? Well, when you talk about the grandeur of a fort or the grandeur of a temple, as in South India, who built it? Now, this is
right,
essentially history for the common man in our society is folk, is what is passed on generation to generation. You never have the name of an artist who has painted those fantastic frescoes in Aurora or the name of the sculptor who has done this. Unlike in the West, where you have people. So this commonality or this heritage or this inheritance that we get and is built on or built upon by successive generations. So that part of history or the folk history or the common man's history started interesting me more and more. And I tried to incorporate that in my business sense as well.
right. Sort of bringing to life you know uh, the life of the common man from, say, the earlier times.
Well, why early times? What about us today? Our
Right,
food, our festivals. All this is history, right? Our
right,
folk songs. This is something that we've got, and we talk less about it. So
right.
we still know that the Mughal kings or the Rajput kings,
Mm.
but what about our combined inheritance of how we build a building, or how the folk songs have come into play, or why do we do a ritual the way we do it, or how do we save water?
Right.
Yeah.
So, Anand, like, okay, you spoke about, how your interest in history started and, what drew you towards the subject. But how did you convert this interest into a business? How did that process happen?
So it's a good question, right? So that's
Yeah,
a very critical path, right? So we know how the current trend is. People go to temples, they visit different temples, or they get into malls, and then so it's like a gadget world. So how do we bring them back, right? How do we make them travel back 1,000 years or 1,500 years back, and bring that connect. So so we kind of started designing a story themed expedition, right? We researched a lot. We brought different elements so that it is not very monotonous. So the core theme is to celebrate the history. So we created backdrops of people can stay for 2 3 days, where the entire backdrop is like a heritage resort, village hospitality, and then making live shows. It's not that we bring some artist to kind of perform it, but we ensure that the local folk, the village people, around 30 to 40 people in different areas, we recreate the event which happened 1,500 years back. So it's a mix of giving a wow factor. Let it be like the folk, the hospitality, the food, even the Chola food, for example, or the Pandya food. So give the flavor of every single aspect, connect with the history, and then make things live, through scholars and everything. So that's how we kind of connected the dots together to give people a live time traveler experience. That, if you see our reviews, people would have said, "Hey, I was holding Rajarajan's hand. I was there in the elephant with Rajendra." So we even cover the entire Rajarajan and Rajendran's expedition, the war path from Trivandrum, near Trivandrum is a place called Kandalur Sale up to Ganges, and the entire southeast expedition. We explain them on how did they do this whole stuff. How did they really win the unknown terrain, right? So it's like everywhere you bring up the illusion. Even when they go into a temple, you make them feel that, hey, there were huge elephants and Rajaraj and Rajendran or the Pulikesi was walking along. So you need to bring that connect. And once that connect is done, then you can use your same formula across. But there has to be a lot of research. It can't be just superficial, just reading some books and then coming and doing a tour. No, it is not. You need to really be very thorough on the subject.
Right. So, Tarun, you're also, hotel management graduate. So, what practices, from your study of hotel management, did you find most useful while running a hotel?
Well, when I did my hotel management from Pusa in 91 to 94, it was essentially, if you talk about culinary, it was all French cuisine. So I had to unlearn a lot of things. but that's jokes apart. If I look at what I learned from hotel management, it definitely gave me an exposure, and it gave me a whole bunch of very intelligent, very enterprising, good friends. And I learned a lot from my teachers as well as my friends. I was lucky enough to be in IHF Pusa, which had the best of the machinery at that point of time. And this sort of training on a ground level prepared me for being open to ideas, and also being exposed to a lot more than what I've seen in my own city and in my own business. So that definitely helped me. The exposure definitely.
Right. So, Anand, you look to provide, a combination of, luxury and heritage in your tours, like the luxury and the heritage experience. Now, how do you achieve a perfect blend of these two seemingly contrasting elements?
Yeah. So luxury starts from the most essential part, right? If you look at US or Europe, if you take a tour, you see a lot of luxury, especially the restrooms. A 3 hours break, which is very important for somebody, and it has to be very hygienic. So we started from there, having adequate 3 hours break wherever we are in a very, very comfortable, hygienic restroom. That's where I would call luxury number one. So that's where we start. We did tours for 4 years to 84 years so far. And of course, the executive bus and everything. But the most important luxury what we brought in is, let it be the resorts what we stay, we educate the staff, and almost all the staff, when the group comes in, they should be also knowing who are these tourists, and then speak in the same language. Let it be food, hospitality, and we basically give them herbal kit even for their toiletries and everything. But in all the three resorts, or in Pandya, Chola, wherever we are, everybody speaks the same language, right? To make them comfortable. And everybody speaks the local language, the local food, the local folk, and all this. So that's the part of luxury. And also what the most important part of our element is to bring in the village hospitality. Right? So that part is very important, because people should know. All of us are missing the rural part of the stuff, because we can't just park the car and then take a walk along the. There's a lot of safety, all that, but we ensure that people get to the remote places, and there, we treat people like kings. So our concept is to live like a king. That's the concept. Everywhere, if you see, there is a local flavor, and somebody can come and give you, serve you, and then make you feel comfortable. There's a lovely breeze out there, and people enjoy every single aspect, and they keep forgetting about what they did before they took the flight or the bus. So, in every aspect, we need to ensure that people feel the local flavor, and then we need to continuously give them that time travel experience in terms of various. So luxury doesn't need to be like like bring everything like a super suit. No, even if you give a very decent luxurious place, but when they get out and when they start walking the corridor, how do they feel that what, I have come to a place that I'm getting everything, I'm seeing so many people and so many things and so many local stuff. So there's a lot of work which has to be done to give that kind of a luxury in all the tours what we do.
Right. So, Tarun, similarly, where in your business, you also arrange walking tours of Jaipur and Rajasthan as a whole. Uh, how do you get the right mix of and get ensuring a contemporary and a traditional experience?
If you look at my website, I say modern comfort, timeless charm, great value. Now, the hygiene factors, the comfort factors have to be absolutely non-negotiable. So you need to have the cleanliness and the hygiene, particularly after post-COVID. That has to be there. That's not negotiable. Then, you see, tourism is the art of making memories. You make memories when you're comfortable.
Right.
So you need to have an. So the comfort factors have to be there as per contemporary times. The hygiene factors have to be absolutely beyond our society time, as per the demands of the guest's society or the guest's life standard. On that, so for example, if you walk into my room, the linen will be all drop print. There will be nothing of plastic in the room. These are small factors. If you talk into a corridor, like Anand was saying, so if you walk into the corridor, what is it that he sees, the guest sees? What is the decor? What is the stone? What is the what are the paintings in the corridor? So all that builds on what you're trying to say about the heritage or about the traditional. But the
Right.
hygiene factors have to be contemporary. Now you mentioned walking tours. These walking tours were designed by my brother, and they are very successful. And he does it in 4 cities of Jaipur. And these cities are today chaotic. They're very interesting, but they're chaotic. At times they're dirty. You can't sort of sanitize it before leading a group of people who are staying in a 5-star deluxe and going on the walking tour. But you can definitely curate it in a manner where the stories are interesting and the person or the visitor is able to look beyond. So, yes,
Right.
the dirt is there. You're not apologetic about it. It's there. It's a fact. But there is a beauty behind the grind. So you talk about it. And see, these appeals are international. These appeals are universal. A nice building or a good tasting food would appeal to everybody on the planet.
Right.
It is the curation and the way, and something, and again, that Anand mentioned is very important. You have to really delve into the subject. You have to really understand the subject before you can start, professing it to other people. And yeah, that's it.
Sure. So, Anand, what aspect of your tours is like the most popular among the audience who chooses these packages? Like, which tour in particular is most popular, and what do you think are the reasons for it?
Yeah, so our signature tour is the Incredible Cholas. Um, that's when we started in 2017. We've done almost 35 tours as we speak. In between 2.5 years, we didn't do during pandemic. That covers a lot of aspects about the great Cholas, right? The recent movie on PS1. It's a small glimpse on the entire Chola history. So we cover the medieval Chola from 847 to 1279. That's when they really expanded so big, which covered some of the greatest kings of Vijayalaya Chola, Aditya Chola, Rajaraja Chola, Rajendra, Kulothunga. So we cover the medieval Chola, and then we cover all the aspects. The Chola built amazing temples. There are 3 UNESCO World Heritage Temples of the Cholas. We go very depth into it on those Cholas, Chola temples, the iconography, the architecture. Some of the top-notch scholars from UNESCO actually join our tours. They are experts who work with us, and we also cover the war path of the Cholas. Almost we've traveled 36,000 kilometers from Kandalur Salai to Ganges, and we've done a complete expedition working with some of the Malaysian universities and Singapore universities on the southeast expedition of Rajendra. One of the only king from the Indian history who traveled to the Southeast Asia, right, Rajendra. So we cover the temple architecture, iconography, the war path, the water administration, the folk literature, and almost 360 degree of what the Cholas. And we cover it in a way that people travel back 1,000 years. They stay in Banyan bungalows, Zamindar palaces, and then they live like a king. The local food, the Chola food, everything we try to take them back. That's why we call it as time traveler. Even the logo and heritage inspired is a Yari, which is a Chola Yari, 1,300 years. Chola Yari. Yari is a mythical animal. So that's why. And the second one we did is a long, deep history about Pandya, pearls of Pandyas. Recently, we've done almost 10 tours on Pandyas. A very complex history. One king will have 10 names, and 10 names will have one king. So, but it's like a 3,000, 4,000 years old history that we have researched and connected the dots. We start from Madurai, and then we finish in Tirunelveli. Recently, we did for the Nalanda College of Dance, Mumbai, and that's again a complete local flavor, a lot of monolithic architecture, cave temple architecture. So if you see this, it's not very monotonous. It covers a lot of aspects which are enough for a layman. We don't overboard anything. We keep it light, but we also go to a depth. The idea is the tour when they come in, that's the beginning of their journey into the world of heritage. We teach them when you go to a temple, you will know, hey, this is a Chalukya, this is a Pandya, this is a Chola, this is a Pallava. So you will know getting into a temple, and you can just stay in front of a temple for 2 hours and then enjoy the architecture, because we will teach them how to enjoy and appreciate the temple. And even for an icon, they can, like Ardhanarishwara, we will tell them what are the different aesthetics for you to go and enjoy different icons. So this is nothing to do with research, but a layman like me, it triggered and opened up a world of heritage. And that is like, look at how many places for us to go and explore. And I've hosted almost 1,500 to 1,600 people, and a lot of them have become explorers, like bird watching. This is becoming heritage exploration. And that, like heritage inspired, there should be a lot of organization in different local places which should come up. And it is very important for us to feel proud that I just come from such an amazing place. I used to work for a French bank. Every single day, they will ensure that they will make me feel that they are French, right?
Right.
That's so proud about them. But look at our heritage, right? It doesn't stop with just religious stuff. You need to know the roots. You need to know where we come from. You need to know what is our amazing heritage, and connect our religion plus the heritage, and you will see, wow, we come from such an amazing land. and we all have to celebrate our history.
Right. So, Tarun, similarly for you, what is your like standout, package or in sort of the tour experience that you provide?
If I talk about uh, if I talk about hotels, I would say that a very strong local flavor in the decor or in the way things are presented to a guest. Also, greenery. See, a guest wants to experience something different
Right.
from what he or she is used to in his usual life. So,
Right.
all of us, almost all of us, are now living in flats. So, if you come out, you want an expansive space. I don't
Right.
have resorts, I have city hotels. But within those city hotels, how can I create different niches, green patches, or something to hold the eye, to
Right.
refresh the mind? So local, I would say local flavor and greenery when I talk about hotels. If I talk about food, then it is home-like food.
Right.
My at least before COVID, my main clientele was foreigners, Europeans, and I was serving them vegetarian food without a bar at any of the hotels that I run.
Mm.
And it's all right. If you want to have a beer, you drink. You take it from the market, drink it in your room.
Right.
But I in food, I do what I know well.
Right.
Now
Right.
that doesn't mean that I give them chapati all the time. I also want this pasta. I do it well,
Mm.
but I
Right.
do what I
Right.
then. If you talk about tours, then great experiences, and experiences have to evolve. It can be as mundane as a sari tying class.
Mm.
If it is yoga class, then is your teacher passionate about it? Is your teacher does it know about it? So, so I have about 16, 17 experiences, and experiences that you buy and experiences that you don't. So if you walk out in the morning in the hotel and there's somebody playing a jaltaran or a sarangi or somebody doing meditative Drupad song in the morning, that adds to the overall experience. If you come out of the room in the evening and there's a very delicate light jasmine scent in the corridor, that adds to your experience. So
Right.
working on the small factors, I think, helps me stand out from the other players, hopefully. And if I talk about all three, hotels, food, and travel together, one factor that I conscientiously work on all the time is value for money. Now, value for money doesn't mean cheap.
Right.
Value for money means that I get more bang for the buck. So this is what I try. Huh? I don't succeed.
Mm.
So that's what.
Right. Uh, in fact, Anand also in his last answer, he mentioned about, many people getting inspiration from the tours and becoming bird watchers. And Tarun, you're a bit of a bird watcher yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the right kind. We're not talking about ladies here. So
Yeah, right.
we're talking about ornithology. That's what I mentioned.
Ornithology, correct. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So
Ornithology, yes. So, Anand, what would be your, advice to people looking to, foray into the heritage tourism business?
Okay, so my 2 cents would be uh, to people who want to venture into heritage tourism, look for real history. Ponniyin Selvan is again, for example, it's a fiction. It's got 50% probably history or lesser than that. But go for the real history and present history as is. Every kingdom had a rise and a fall. There's nothing to hype about, right? And so it's not just about South. There's so much of history for us to learn all over India, right? And people from South should look up to the North, the Rajputs, and then so much of stuff. The Chalukyas are like amazing, amazing. Look at the Ajanta Elloras, and then on the eastern side, there's so much of hidden history. So people who do heritage tourism should always stick to the history and produce real artifacts and talk history as is. And that's very important. And bring a story so that it gets connected. You have a theme for the entire tour. You just don't say that, hey, this happened this way. That you start with the history, you give them an introduction, and you have a theme for that tour. And then run the theme across the board, all the 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, so that people feel that they have a context and we have ring fenced the scope and they know what exactly the takeaways they have taken. So we can't just be all over the place. We have to be very confined to say that we have looked at 3 different things and this is how we have covered it. So it should be, well articulated, and it should be designed in a way that they get that experience. Experiencing history is very important. Yeah. So I think that's the 2 cents which I have for people who want to really venture. But it's a very good market. We see a lot of stuff happening. I'm very, very happy. In 2017, I think I was the only one who was doing all this stuff. But now very happy that we all need that to love our heritage, actually.
Right. It's great that these things are picking up. So it's wonderful. And Tarun, anything from from you on people looking to give unique experience on hospitality? Any advice from your end for entrepreneurs looking to make a mark in this business?
A lot of times I see even the bigger and the more expensive hotels treating our history or treating our architectural heritage or treating our folk as just cogs in a wheel.
Right.
A lot of times it is very superficial, and that pains me. I remember going to a big branded hotel where folk musicians were sitting behind a glass wall. For the life of me, I don't know what they were doing there, except maybe adding a little bit of color to the lobby. Now, this is something that, history is a continuum.
Right.
Anand is talking about history, which is 1,015 years, 1,500 years old from where we are sitting today. But the strand is continued. And
right.
You see again, I'm coming back to the folk, because increasingly I have been involved with folk music, folk arts, folk crafts. And it is so rich. And it is built on a tradition of generations. Now, this has to be appreciated. We are spending such a lot of money into building our hotels, into building our hospitality businesses. Why does the money go to China?
Right.
Boxed in interiors which come from there in a carton and are put here. The money should go to at least some bit of it.
Yeah.
Go into the local flavor, into the local art. If I'm walking into a hotel in Jaipur, it is such a travesty that the hotel room looks like any hotel room anywhere in the world.
Right.
So that and that makes, like what's they say in ecology, eco-logic. So this is logic. This, if you add the local flavor, it adds to your marketability. So look at it any which way. Look at it from the point of view of sustainability. Look at it from the point of view of marketability. It makes much more sense to A, understand, B, invest in what is yours.
Understood, Tarun. So also, Tarun, if I'm right, you are running this business from sometime around 91. It's about 3 decades now.
Yeah.
Right. So what are the biggest challenges that you faced in this time? Some of the biggest challenges that you faced?
See, the speed of change today is very fast. In 1991, 94, I joined in 94, 95. And at that point of time, 90% of my business was backpacker foreign tourists.
Right.
Nobody knew that mobile phones will come in. Nobody knew that OTAs will start garnering such a big market share. That point of time, if you're giving somebody a clean sheet and home-like food, it was it. You were home. So the speed of change is fast. You have to understand your product. You have to understand the society or the culture that you're presenting to your guests. You have to be prepared to change at a very fast pace. That is the biggest challenge and it remains so. Now, when COVID struck, I didn't know, and I'm sure 90% of us did not know what to do.
Right.
But at the end of 6 months or 8 months, though we were still running in losses, we had the confidence that COVID is really teaching us. It made us leaner, it made us flatter, it taught us so many things, and business came back. So,
Yes.
yeah, so you see, in today's world, the opportunities that exist are immense, and most of it stem from the domestic market. And domestic market itself is heterogeneous. There is no comparison in which a corporate guest from Gurgaon or Bangalore behaves to a guest from Punjabi bar in Delhi or from Jaipur.
Right.
So I think the biggest challenge that remains is the speed of change, and you have to be always ready to welcome it.
Understood. Understood. That is useful indeed. Anand, so you started back in 2017, like you mentioned, and what were the biggest challenges that you had in the last 5 years or so?
Biggest challenge was pandemic.
Right.
So because the first industry
Yeah.
to go for a toss is tourism. So 2.5 years we were almost completely washed out. And then we had to start back. So that's the most important, unexpected.
Right. Right. Think yeah, that was for everyone, but yes, especially as you mentioned, tourism and any kind of events business.
Yeah.
So, also, Anand, how do you ensure that you have a successful and a sustainable business model?
The way I've ensured is to provide continuous improvement, right? So we don't stick on to the way how we started in 2017. So we bring a lot of newer elements to the tours, and then keep adding more tours which are very different need of the time. So it's to kind of number one, even if it's a signature tour for you, you need to keep enhancing that. Second is continuously keep adding more tools, which where people get the variety. So once they like Chola, then they should have an option to hop on to different type of tools, and that's how you build a network. And it's just not heritage inspired. We also do heritage essentials, which where we basically do organic. All the villagers who work for our tours, we've converted their land into natural farm, and then we started giving all this natural produce to the people who have come for the tour, and then that's a network now. So it's like a one-stop shop for people to get into heritage. So that's the business model which we kind of adopted. Let it be traditional sweet to Malmara almonds. We kind of give them the purest what we could do, and that justice we've always done. And then at the same time, the heritage tours, which brings in a completely different flavor, a very unique model, which is what we've done.
Right. Tarun, how did you ensure having a successful business model in place?
I think you're talking about how to go about it in future, right?
Future or so far anything, any perspective is fine. Yeah, future is good.
If you talk about
Yeah.
till now,
Yeah.
then see post in COVID times, you survived because you were really on your cash flow and on the economy.
Right.
So if like the way we say good value for money, that way it should
Right.
also be good value for what you spend. Also, a very strong local flavor, as I'm repeating myself. Now, if I talk about going in the future, I think, see, hospitality businesses are very resource intensive. we take a lot of resource in any manner, be it manpower, be it natural resources, water. For Rajasthan, water is a big thing. Um, if we are resource sensible and we are able to maintain a strong local flavor without making it exotic,
Right.
it has to be a part of the ecosystem that the guest is coming in.
Right.
If that happens, no problem. But resources is going to be our biggest challenge. You cannot stop a guest from taking a shower for 10 or 15 minutes. How do you reutilize that? That is where the game is. How do you produce energy? How do you produce less sewerage? And the governments are getting really strict on that as well. So being eco-sensible or ecological, that's a much varied phrase now. But I think that is the way that's going to be very, very important.
Right. So, yeah. Also, an open question to both of you. Which age groups do you think are the most excited about your tour packages, be it, the historical tours of your heritage inspired or the walking tours that Aryanavas has to offer?
Anand, you first.
Sorry, sorry. Can you repeat the question? I had some connectivity.
Sure, sure. Sure, Anand. So I was asking, which age groups do you see the most interest from for your tour packages?
Uh, Interest comes from people who really want to know about the history, and then recently, I think there's a lot of change, a transformation which is going on. A lot of people are getting to know about the history. Mostly, I would say our age group is around 35 to 50 years. That's the age group, 40 to 40, 50, 55, I would say ideally. And people who have interest towards nature, history, book reading are the typical folks who come in.
Right. That's interesting.
I would
And
I would
yeah,
say that the the 25 to 35, 40 years age group looks for more experiential or immersive
Yeah.
tourism. And beyond that, especially with the foreign market, people who are 45, 50, 60, they look for a tourism that relates more to the colonial and medieval past. They are more immersive in history, and the younger generation is looking more towards experiences or contact with the local people. And both markets, there's a lot of scope. But for the
right,
younger generation, being able to connect with the local population and experiential travel, that is very important. More immersive travel, and they're looking at go to Viator, hundreds of tours there. Yeah.
mhm, right. So we'll take some questions from the audience now, and I see a question from Mathura Mohan. Does Heritage Inspired own hotels or tie up with them? What is their business model?
We don't tie up. We don't own any hotels. We conduct heritage tourism actually. So we have around 5 to 6 different products, tours. That's our scope actually.
Right. If anybody else has any questions in the audience, feel free to unmute yourself and ask or type them in the chat box below. Okay, I don't think we're getting any questions as of now. Any last thoughts from both of you before we close this session?
Anand?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So I think thank you. So good to know about Tarun. Very happy. I think probably we should sync up.
Mm.
And there is so much out there in the world for us to really explore. Every single citizen, living in city, they can spend their whole life for 3 weeks. But I would say dedicate one weekend, take your family, your children, and teach them about our heritage. It's very important to go local, see a lot of local stuff. It's just 20, 30 kilometers from your city, but it's very easy. There's a lot of, earlier, you used to go to libraries to read books. Now you have your Kindle, your everything. Just do small things. And when you do the third and fourth trip, you see that there's so much of our country comes with so much of emotions. We have so much of values, and we've evolved over a period of time, and we love each other. And that's how we shared ourselves. Now we need to go back. It's time for us to love our heritage and love our tradition, and for that, a lot of people should come forward to bring awareness about our heritage. And it's very, very important in this period of time, especially for our second generation. It's very, very important. Until you take that initiative, our kids will still be cozy at home looking at their mobile without knowing what is the value of our heritage, right, of our country, right? Jai Hind for that.
Sure. I think this part it also resonates with Nice's philosophy of going desi and making brand India bigger. Yeah. Tarun, any thoughts from you?
I completely agree with Anand. You see, I'm very happy that the profession that I chose gives me the chance to have the time to understand, and then also to present my my shared inheritance and my heritage to people from all over the world. In that way, tourism is an ambassador. And if I talk about the domestic market, about Indians, I think it's extremely important for us to pause and to sort of to sort of look back or to stay a little. We are all leading extremely fast lives, and hospitality, tourism, experiential travel gives us the chance to sort of step back and look at things from a fresh eye, and also to appreciate the richness of the social fabric around us. You can call it in any manner. If you're a foodie, discover food, and through food you will discover the social fabric. If you love buying saris, go ahead. There's so many hundreds of different types of saris, and through it you will discover that how rich and how cohesive our heterogeneous society is, and that's what tourism should do.
Right. Tarun.
Showcase the best of our,
Yeah.
combined inheritance, I should say, not heritage.
So, thank you both for joining this session and sharing your wisdom and your thoughts with our audience. We really loved having you here for the nice Aarohana session here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.